And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome here to our second race of the season for the NRSL TGIFs. I'm going to call it that way because, I can't really just say Fridays because it is, thank God it's Friday. So the NRSL TGIFs Fatal 4-Way Truck Series. We are getting ready here for race number 2 here at the high-speed 1.5 mile track of Atlanta Motor Speedway. 49 laps await us, all caution-free. That's what the stipulation is this season. No cautions to help save any mistakes or errors these drivers might make. And starting on the pole for today's race is our winner from last week, who dominated and led all 20 laps at Daytona, Karson Gum. He is also our points leader coming into this race, so a solid qualifying run for him. James Qualls, who finished third last week, will line up on the outside of row number 2. And then you've got the 35 car of Holden Gluba, who finished last week in the 4th position, starting off in 3rd place, with Andrew Rich completing the top 4. And let's take a look here at the starting lineup for today's race. A lot of the A drivers up there at the front, and they made quite a charge late in the Daytona race. And then you got a couple of drivers that are running really well in points. Marty Johnson comes into this race 5th in points. Gabriel Wanderley 10th in points. They're starting in the final row. Let's get the command to fire them up.
Drivers, start your engines!
So coming into this race, Team B currently leads the point standings overall, 281 points. 10 points back is Team A, and then 13 points back is Team C. Team D is still in the hunt. They are only 81 points back, and if one of their drivers wins today, that would help them cut the deficit down quite a bit. As far as overall points, Karson Gum's the points leader. Grayson Acavito is 2nd. 3rd place, James Qualls. Holden Gluba is 4th, with Marty Johnson 5th. The rest of the top 10 in the overall points coming in today's race as far as drivers: Dylan Young, Kyle Keith, Seth Cole, Matt McIntyre, and Gabriel Wanderley. Here we go, though. 49 laps of racing await us. The pace truck peels off. Karson Gum and James Qualls will get us underway. We are green flag racing at Atlanta. James Qualls trying to get around the outside line. Here comes Holden Gluba to the inside. The Team A drivers ganging up on the current overall points leader, Karson Gum. And Holden Gluba is going to maybe take the lead. Don't know. Look at Charles Samper peeling out of line there 3 wide. And Gluba clears for the lead. And the 25 car way down on the apron there. I don't know if he's got a problem or not. I think he just got down low and couldn't get a run off the corner. And the first lap led by a Team A driver this season. Let's check to the back. Just make sure no one's run into problems. Here we go. You see that here is Taven Alexander. Gabriel Wanderley back here along with Caleb Hoffman. But everybody is still clean, at least at this point. And the field's beginning to spread out towards the front. Holden Gluba with the lead. James Qualls, teammate, right there in 2nd. And then another teammate in Andrew Rich trying to take 3rd place away from Karson Gum. Dylan Young running right there in 5th. He's the highest running of the class, or 2nd highest running drivers of the Class B. Karson Gum, of course, leading that. Highest runner of the Class C drivers is Austin Gipe, right now 6th overall. He's got teammates Seth Cole and Emmanuel Hartnett behind him. And Juan Hernandez right now is the highest running driver of Class D. He's currently in the 9th position. And I thought we might have a battle for the lead momentarily. James Qualls was all over the back bumper of Holden Gluba. But James Qualls, let's keep in mind, Qualls comes into this race 3rd in the driver point standings. While he would like to win, he may just be planning on playing defense for Gluba in order to have a Class A 1-2 finish. And if Andrew Rich can keep the pressure on Karson Gum, the 3 of them may be able to get a 1-2-3 finish. But here comes Karson Gum to the bottom, looking for 2nd place off of James Qualls. Qualls with the run on the high side is going to keep the position, though. And we may have a battle for position here very shortly. Class C or Team C's Austin Gipe on the back bumper of Dylan Young. Dylan Young 6th in driver standings. Right now 2nd highest of Team B. And at Daytona, we ended up having Karson Gum dominate the race and lead every single lap. Well, the lead's getting swapped around here at Atlanta. James Qualls will move by his teammate and move to the front, which means that there's going to be 2 bonus points for laps led here, credited to Team A. Holden Gluba already led a lap, and now James Qualls will get a bonus point as he will lead a lap. And it's got to be quite a bit of pressure for James Qualls and Holden Gluba, because the two of them, yes, they're on Team A, but they're both 3rd and 4th in the driver points right now. So a battle on track could be a potential battle in driver standings, even though the two of them are teammates. So James Qualls now out in front, Gluba 2nd, Karson Gum 3rd, Andrew Rich now in 4th place with Dylan Young in the 5th position. Right now the top 5 is dominated by Class A and B drivers. Then you got Austin Gipe there in 6th for Class C. Seth Cole for Class C runs 7th. And then Class C, Emmanuel Hartnett has Juan Hernandez from Class D to his inside and is going to take away that position. That is a battle for the 9th spot. Give it to Juan Hernandez, move Hartnett back to the 10th position. Actually, I'm sorry, that was 8th place that Juan Hernandez took. Hartnett now back to 9th, and Zach Rogers right now is the completion of your top 10. He's got a teammate there in Kyle Keith. Then Johnny Gardner there in 12th for Class A, Charles Sanford in 13th for Class B. Wade Brummer for Class D right now running in 14th place, and then Jake Baskinger in 15th. Class D has really been struggling. They struggled at Daytona, and now they're having some struggles here. At Atlanta, only 2 drivers from Class D are up inside the top 15 right now. James Qualls continuing to enjoy the view out front. Let's look at the rear of the field, see if anybody's run into problems. There you see Kyle Matthews. He's dead last right now behind Gabriel Wanderley. This is not good for the 14 because they came into this race 10th in the point stand. This is really going to hurt them in driver points. Caleb Hoffman back here along with Taven Alexander, Ryan Madden, John Arndt, James Richardson. There's Marty Johnson all the way back here, currently scored in 33rd place. Came in 5th in driver's points. Matt McIntyre also not having the best of runs, 31st overall. And he came into this race 9th in the points. See where the rest of our top 10 in the standings coming into this race, where they're currently running. Car up in the wall. That is Rocco Twyman riding the wall all the way through 3 and 4. Finally gets off of it, but going to lose a lot of spots. He was 24th last time by. He drops 4 spots to 28th, and he's about to lose that spot to JT Bryan. Trying to find the rest of our top 10 in points. There's 2nd in points, Grayson Acavito, right now running behind Benjamin Miles. Those are 2 teammates out of Team C. Right now Grayson's running in 18th place, which is okay, but Qualls and Gluba and Karson Gum are all running so well that this is maybe going to drop him in the point standings. Field is definitely spread out, and James Qualls currently leads the way. Now, Karson Gum ended up helping out Team B very much so last week by leading every single lap, which means he not only got the bonus point for leading the lap, but he also got a bonus point for leading the most, because he led all 20 laps of that event. James Qualls here today could counter that. And when you think about it too, Team A has countered and passed Team B in what they did last week at Daytona, because 2 drivers from Class A have led here today, and at the moment with Qualls where he is, then they would get the extra bonus point as well for leading the most laps. So last week Karson Gum ended up compiling 2 points against 0 points, if you will, for laps led against Team A. But here today, it stands to be 3 points against 1 point. Team A versus Team B, because Karson Gum, of course, has been out in front in this race and ended up leading a lap, I think. Did he lead a lap or did Gulba, I keep saying Gulba. Did Gluba get out ahead of Karson Gum? I'm trying to remember now. If Karson Gum didn't lead a lap, then that would mean that the ratio would be 3 bonus points to none at the current moment. Now, Karson Gum's got his hands full. Now he's got a fellow teammate in Dylan Young up here to try and relieve some of the pressure off of him. But it's still the top 5 dominated by teams A and B. And while Karson Gum is definitely trying to get a good finish for Team B, he's also trying to continue to hold his points lead heading into next week. And a 3rd place position right now is a great run for that 32 truck. Top 10 at the back of the top 10 has shuffled a little bit. Johnny Gardner has now worked his way into the top 10. Charles Sanford now up there to 11th, so a couple of drivers who didn't have the best of runs last week at Daytona running very well right now. Zach Rogers has dropped back a couple of spots. Right now, Juan Hernandez, 8th place, is the highest running of Class D at the moment. It's been a very struggling start to the season for Class D. None of their drivers finished up inside the top 10 at the finish of the race at Daytona last week. And right now, only one of them is running inside the top 10 at this moment. And they came into this race already at an 81-point deficit from the overall leaders, Team B. Team B had 281 points coming into this race. Team D only 200 even. And with the way that Team A and Team B are running right now, Team D is in a big problem at the moment. At least it's a 20 race season, so there's plenty of time for stuff to happen and a number of Team D drivers to get into victory lane. But unlike last season's class racing, where the ratings were somewhat lessened, however further down the class you went, all these drivers are on equal ratings. Every one of these 40 drivers are on equal ratings, and so just not seeing the performance that we might expect out of Team D early on. Seth Cole, Austin Gipe working together here. They're 6th and 7th right now. A couple of drivers out of Team C. Team C also really needs good runs right now. 13 points back, which isn't a lot, but when you consider the fact that the 2 teams that they are 13 points behind are right now sweeping the top 5, well, they need more help up here. Let's see what the rest of their Team C competitors would be. Hartnett's still running in the top 10. He's currently scored in the 9th position. There's Jake Baskinger right now, 13th place is where he's running. As Zach Rogers, oh, I thought he might be going to pit road, but he got the apron, lost some spots. There's Benjamin Miles, 14th place right now. So Team C's having some decent runs, but they need a lot more than that. And now Wade Brummer down on the apron. And that was Grayson Acavito as well. Acavito was trying to work his way up, and he's going to lose some spots. And whoa, Sam Rogers, Jesse Turner, look at that. That's a couple of drivers out of Team D, and that's what they need to do. They need to be aggressive right now. And the 2 of them, well, they're battling each other now, but they were trying to get around Wade Brummer, which is also another Class D driver. Ooh, a couple cars on the apron there. That is Dallas McIntosh and Austin LaPlante, the 50 and the 29. McIntosh out of Team D, as Team A's Matt McIntyre will go to the inside. Austin LaPlante out of Team C. And there you got Trek Togger there for Team D. Jeffrey Finguy all the way back here. This is a guy that's going to take quite a hit in the point standings right now with where he's running. 33rd overall for Marty Johnson. Coming into this race, 5th in the standings. And we know that Dylan Young is running better than he is. Kyle Keith is running better than he is. Seth Cole is running better than he is. Now where's the 14 of Waverly? Well, he's only worked his way up to the 38th position. Started in the final row and has not made much progress since. Then you got Caleb Hoffman and Taven Alexander back there in the last position. James Qualls still leads the way, though. And I think at this point, well, I think he has to lead about 3 more laps, and he'll have the most laps led point locked up for Team A. Team A and Team B came into this race only 10-point separation. And to counter, if James Qualls can win this thing and counter the win that Karson Gum had last week, I'm telling you what, Team A could very easily be the points leader team going into next week. They have 3 of their drivers up inside the top 5 right now. Team B has 2. And then from 6th on back, you've got 4 drivers from Class C and 1 driver from Class D. The lone car of Juan Hernandez. They're getting racy back there for 2nd place. Holden Gluba is trying to hold off Karson Gum. Andrew Rich has tried to put the bumper to the 32 several times and has been unsuccessful. Meanwhile, he's got Dylan Young on his back bumper. Both, I think, the 68 and the 88 have the goal right now of trying to alleviate pressure off their teammates. The 68's trying to get the 32 off the bumper of the 35. The 88's trying to get the 68 off the bumper of the 32. Just gotta hope that in their attempt they don't make some kind of a mistake and cost themselves a shot at a good finish. Next time by, 19 laps remaining in this race. We have not had anything even close to a caution flag or a wreck take place, even though there are no cautions, but meant to say as far as a wreck. Everybody has been able to run cleanly. James Qualls got the lead away from his teammate Holden Gluba, which is not only a battle on track, but also a battle in points, as both drivers came into this race in the top 5 in point standings. As a matter of fact, 3 of our top 5 in points are running in the top 5 right now. They're running 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Qualls came in 3rd in points, Gluba came in 4th in points, and Karson Gum came in as the points leader. Dylan Young stands to have a good points day as far as driver standings are concerned. Drivers ahead of him, such as Grayson Acavito and Marty Johnson, are having rather struggling race. Seth Cole right now, 7th place, would also stand to move up in the standings as well. And we have a new driver in the top 10. Charles Sanford has been able to get around Emmanuel Hartnett in the 25. And he is now in the top 10 position. He's got his teammate Zach Rogers, who moved by the 25 with him. And now Charles Sanford puts the 3rd Class B driver up into the top 10 here. Saw a battle going on here. Yeah, Seth Cole and Austin Geip. Now these two are teammates at the moment. But for Seth Cole, every position on track now means a point in the standings. And as I said, there are a couple of drivers ahead of him in points that are struggling. There are also a number of drivers ahead of him on track right now that are ahead of him in the point standings. So every point keeps him closer to trying to be able to get up there and battle for the points lead. Austin Geip, though, is not going to let him have it that easily. And if these two don't get this settled out pretty soon, well, I was going to say they may get reeled in, but Juan Hernandez, Benjamin Miles, Charles Sanford are quite a ways back at the moment. And Charles Sanford is going to try and go for 9th place underneath Benjamin Miles. Miles got the nice run through the middle of the corner, though, and he'll hold on to that spot. The outside line seems to be the place that's really getting the runs, although Seth Cole on the inside line is going to clear Austin Geip. That moves him up to the 6th position. Geip will fall back to 7th. Meanwhile, up front, the gap between James Qualls and Holden Gluba has not really closed up. Gluba, I think, now may realize James Qualls has had the stronger truck today, and now is going to go into defensive mode just to try and hold off Karson Gum and Dylan Young. And he's got a teammate in Andrew Rich who can help him with that. And look at Andrew Rich. He took a little peek to the inside of Karson Gum, who slipped a little off the corner of 2. Karson was able to recover, though, and keep the 68 at bay, at least for now. .32, 68, 88 all took different grooves coming out of 4. Karson Gum took the middle line, then Rich went about a half groove lower, and Dylan Young went about a half groove lower than that, and that kind of separated them out quite a bit there, too. One thing I'm noticing is that with the slicker conditions and the higher temperatures down here seeping into the racetrack, these drivers are finding a little bit of difficulty down on that low side, especially off the exit of the corner. It's killing their momentum, and I think that's what split the 32, 68, and 88 for that brief moment. James Qualls, he has the most laps led bonus point locked up. That has now been confirmed by NRSL scoring. Now trying to win it here. The win for Team A would counter the dominating performance by Karson Gum, winning for Team B last week at Daytona, and boy, they're getting wadded up again here from 2nd on back through 5th. This has been one of the best battles on track, even though really nobody has stepped out of line. They've just all been bunched up together, waiting for the other one to make the move, I guess. But next time by, it's 10 laps to go. James Qualls has certainly proved he's got the strongest truck of the day. Barring any mechanical problems, I think it's very easy to say he's going to win this race. But it's going to come down between Holden Gluba, Karson Gum, Andrew Rich, and Dylan Young as to which team's going to compile the most points. And Carson's going to jump to the outside line, but not be able to get alongside the right rear of Gluba's GoPro Toyota Tundra. He'll have to still ride there in the 3rd position. Andrew Rich, back on his back bumper. Will he dive to the inside, heading here into 3? Nope, instead decides to run a little bit higher of a groove there. Just slightly, maybe about a quarter groove up. And Dylan Young ran about the same line as his teammate Karson Gum. Gluba has now opened up a bit of a gap between himself and Karson Gum, about a car length and a half. And now Andrew Rich says he's going to try and go for a 1-2-3 for Team A. Well, nope, he really messed up his exit out of the corner there, lost momentum, and now Dylan Young stays inside for 4th place. See if Dylan Young can get the run off of 4. Or is he going to lose momentum? Well, he didn't lose momentum, it's just that Andrew Rich got the better run off the corner. Well, Charles Sanford just dropped out of the top 10. Zach Rogers moved up into the top 10, though. He's up to 9th place. Been a lot of jostling for position there at the tail end of the top 10. There's Sanford now in 11th, and then a long ways back here to Wade Brummer and Emmanuel Hartnett. Benjamin Miles right now in the 10th position trying to make a move on Zach Rogers, and Juan Hernandez will stand to be the highest finisher at the moment for Class D, or Team D, right now in 8th position. Karson Gum trying to get the run off of turn 2 to try and reel in Holden Gluba, not only to add an extra point advantage for Team B, but also pad his points lead in the overall standings. 6 to go here at Atlanta. James Qualls has dominated this race, much like Karson Gum dominated at Daytona. In all honesty, I was expecting to see these drivers race it up like we saw the kind of racing back in the NRSL Reseeds Late Model Series, but that may be when the pressure is really on. Here early on in the season, these drivers are seeming not to want to really force the issue at the moment. And there's been no doubt about it. Teams A and B have been the class of the field at both Daytona and here today at Atlanta. At Daytona, 3 drivers from Team A finished in the top 5. And 4 of them finished in the top 10, I believe it is. Let me just quickly, I want to just see Waverly might be, is Waverly A? Speaking of Waverly, where in the world did Waverly go? Where's the 14 truck? We might have had a retire, oh, there he is. Sorry, I didn't know where he was. He's in A. Okay, so that means that we had, what, 5 drivers from Team A finish inside the top 10 last week at Daytona. We ended up having 3 drivers from Class B, from Team B, finish in the top 10 last week. And right now, Team A and B are going to sweep the top 5. It'll be 2 to go when James Qualls hits the stripe. The only person that can mess up his opportunity at this victory is himself. And with where he's running and with Karson Gum is running, it's going to be a little bit of deja vu. With Qualls winning and Karson Gum third, last week it was Karson Gum winning and James Qualls finishing third. Now, I'm trying to remember if Karson Gum led a lap in this race. If he did, if Karson Gum led a lap in this race, he would have 1 point lead over James Qualls in the driver's points heading into next week. But if he did not lead a lap, then James Qualls and Karson Gum, I think, would be tied atop the point standings. But here we go. White flag. 1 more lap to go for James Qualls. He has a 0.4 of a second lead over his teammate Holden Gluba, who's not been able to get to his back bumper since Qualls passed for the lead. And James Qualls down the back straightaways. Dylan Young got around Andrew Rich for 4th place. That's going to be an important point right there for Team A versus Team B. But out of turn 4 for the final time, Team A will pick up their first win of the season as James Qualls dominates the race here today and wins at Atlanta. It'll be very interesting to see how that 1 point of Dylan Young bypassing Andrew Rich for 4th place could play out, what the point standings will look like, and the points difference between Team A and Team B heading into next week. Team C and Team D need to step it up, and they need to step it up quick, or else they're going to have a huge deficit to try and have to make up. So James Qualls and Holden Gluba sweep the top 2 spots for Team A. Then Team B comes in with Karson Gum and Dylan Young. Andrew Rich will complete the top 5. 3 Team A drivers in the top 5. Then you got Team C, Seth Cole in 6th and Austin Gipe in 7th. Team D's highest finisher was Juan Hernandez in 8th. Zach Rogers cracked the top 10 late for Team B in 9th. Benjamin Miles finishes in 10th for Team C. Team D had only 2 drivers finish in the top 15 as Wade Brummer fought his way up to 11th. You got Charles Sanford for Team B in 12th, Johnny Gardner for Team A in 13th, and then Team B takes the last 2 spots in the top 15 with Kyle Keith and William Brock. As far as the drivers overall in points, let's see where they end up finishing. The points that are coming to this race, Karson Gum gets 3rd place. 2nd in points, Grayson Acavito slipped all the way back to 21st. James Qualls, 3rd in points, of course, won the race. Holden Gluba came in 4th in points, finishes the race out in the 2nd position. Got to look a ways down before we find 5th in the points coming to this race. Marty Johnson finishes 34th place. Dylan Young, who came in 6th in the standings, finishes a solid 4th. Kyle Keith, who came in 7th in points, he'll finish 14th. Seth Cole, 8th in the standings, finishes 6th today. Matt McIntyre was way near the rear of the field, 9th in the point standings coming into this race, finishes 31st. And then Gabriel Wanderley, who came into this race 10th in the point standings after a solid run last week at Daytona, finishes in the 37th position here today. Only made up a total of, I believe, 2 spots on the racetrack during the course of that entire 49-lap event. So, I don't know for certain. I can't look at the export right at the moment, but we're either going to have a tie for the points lead between Karson Gum and James Qualls as far as the driver points go, or Karson Gum's going to have a 1-point advantage over Qualls heading into next week. It all depends on whether Karson Gum led a lap today or not, and I don't know exactly if he did. I won't know until I look at the export. But James Qualls picks up the victory here today at Atlanta, giving the victory for Team A. It's going to be really close, I think, still. The points between Team A and Team B heading into next week. It'll be interesting to see where Team C stacks up, and Team D, with only 2 drivers finishing inside the top 15, make it this way, only 2 drivers finishing inside the top 19, 3 drivers finishing inside the top 20. That's not good for that team. They're going to have a real deficit heading into next week. Of course, the season is still early, so something could still happen for that team, but it's really got to happen sooner rather than later. But thank you everybody so much for watching this race here from Atlanta. Hope that you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, become part of the crew today. We show you now your full vision results from today's race here at Atlanta, and we'll head in next week. Next week, I believe we are going to Las Vegas, so hope you'll tune in for that, as you've been watching a production of the NRSL TGIF's Fatal 4-Way Truck Series here on the NSRA Sports Channel.